Welcome to the first episode of Law of Ball. I'm your host, Alan, and I'm a Golden State Warriors fan, and I am accompanied by Kyron
I'm a Celtics fan.
and Herman.
Yep. I'm a Rockets fan.
Okay, so we will try to drop episodes every week, but we are students, so we may miss a week or two, but we're just going to get started. So we have many different topics to talk about today, but the biggest thing is just the bubble in general. So when they first told us that they might start the bubble, did you guys have any questions, concerns, or doubts regarding the bubble?
So firstly, let's rewind it back to, I think it was March 13th, that one day when Rudy Gobert caught the coronavirus and the NBA season was suspended. This was obviously completely ridiculous, unheard of. NBA season suspended. We were ready to go in the playoffs, right? We were super excited for first round. We were already talking about playoff matchups and whatnot. But then when the season was suspended, it was just kind of like a huge shock to the whole NBA community. So they were talking about the bubble previously and how they were going to do it in Orlando or maybe Las Vegas, and everybody kind of had their doubts. But I think overall, people were just excited that basketball was going to return at all.
Yeah, I was just afraid of players, being irresponsible or whatnot and not caring about protocols. But they've done pretty good overall. They had 0 positive tests, right?
Yeah, I was I want to applaud Adam Silver for that. 'Cause that's really impressive.
Yeah, he's one of the best commissioners of any major sports league. Forward thinking and just really innovative.
But also there's BLM just happened right before it. So did you guys think anything about NBA taking away attention from BLM like Kyrie did?
Yeah, you remember that Kyrie call? That was absolutely I don't want to say ridiculous, but it was just really shocking that there would actually be some sort of coup d'etat against the NBA and a group of players would be willing to not play. Obviously, Kyrie didn't really have a stake in it because he's injured, but it was just kind of a shock to see that basketball could be compromised because of the good social change.
Yeah, but what did you guys think about what they've done with the jerseys, phrases with printed on the court? Did you guys like what they did?
I think it's neat, but they could have had more potential than just one phrase to choose from.
Yeah, I'm obviously really happy that the NBA is drawing attention to it while also still playing basketball. However, I think they could have done a little bit more and maybe let players pick their own things to put on the back of their jerseys.
Yes.
Yeah, but overall, it's been a good bubble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, I didn't expect it to go this well, to be honest.
Yeah, we're basically gone 2 weeks, right? Oh, 2 weeks with 0 positive tests.
Yeah.
But so now that we've talked about the bubble, we should probably talk about the best players in the bubble. So we'll just take turns talking about players and we'll analyze
best
them.
player in the bubble.
So you two went from stars, right? So I decided to go for role players.
Yeah.
Also, we have our own segment for TJ Warren, so probably don't mention him for now.
TJ Warren.
So the first player, really?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So the first player I wanted to bring up, I told you guys before the pod, was Gary Trent Jr. His first 5 games, he had 20 points per game, knocked down 6 threes on 60% shooting.
Mm-hmm.
He did have 2 games after that where he struggled, but he's still averaging 17 points per game, 4 threes a game. I really think that he has potential to become a 6th Man of the Year candidate, especially since he's only he's really young right now. He's only 21 years old, and he's already shown his ability to knock down threes.
Yeah.
And if he leaves the Blazers, I think he could have an even bigger role on another team.
I remember watching Blazers v Rockets. I think that was the 5th game in the bubble when Gary Trent was on this ridiculous streak where he hit 28 threes in 5 games on 2/3 shooting, 67%. Absolutely ridiculous. Honestly, as a role player, it's exactly who you want. A 3-and-D efficient player who's good at defense.
Definitely. I also like his athleticism.
Yeah, he's just a bit small, but he I think he's their best defender, right?
Yeah, good wingman.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone else on the Blazers.
He's also part of their death lineup with CJ, Dame, Melo, and then Nurkic.
One of the best starting lineups. Honestly, they could take out the 1 seed, they could take out the 2 seed. They're big threat.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, well, you guys want to mention another player?
Yeah, I went for like a star. I think honestly, the player of the bubble has been Devin Booker. Right now, the
Ooh.
Phoenix Suns are red hot, undefeated in the bubble. If they win in a couple hours and the Grizzlies lose, they could slide into that 8th seed, which nobody saw it coming. Everybody thought Pelicans, maybe Grizzlies, maybe Blazers for that 8th seed, but the Suns, complete red flag, complete dark horse, and they were like noted as like a poorly run bad franchise, always winning like 20 games a year. And finally they've been accumulating draft picks and getting these like young stars, but none of them really panned out. Like DeAndre Ayton, people thought he might be a bust. And then like for instance Dragon Bender and a lot of other draft picks that they've picked haven't really panned out. But Devin Booker, obviously they're up and coming star. They need to keep him there, and by Devin Booker performing well and carrying the Phoenix Suns to like an undefeated record so far, absolutely amazing. He's had an efficient 30 points per game, and they're the best team in the bubble. I think it's irrefutable that Devin Booker is a player of the bubble.
Yeah, I think this stretch of games is like really important. It's like the best part of his career so far. He's faced
A lot of
Yeah.
a lot of people are stepping up.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
before, people thought that he was inefficient, that he's been shooting over 50% field goal percentage. He's scoring an efficient 30 per game, which is really important in this day and age.
I like their team, like how.
I think you cut out for a second.
Yeah.
Herman, you wanna?
Okay.
I just said I think that their team is actually built decently. If you look at their roster,
Very
Yeah.
all around team. I think one fun fact: Kelly Oubre came from
what
high
happened?
school. That's one thing I hold with pride.
Yeah. So who else do you think have performed really well in the bubble so far?
Man, I'm surprised I didn't say his name. Michael Porter Jr., bro. Come
Oh
on,
yeah,
man.
Michael Porter Jr. He
He's
slid in
a-
the draft and then
Yes.
Oh yeah, I
performing
was
well.
gonna bring him up too, especially the first 5 games. He had like
Regular season, he was
30. He
averaging
dropped like
7
30.
points. He was
Yeah.
averaging 7 points in the regular season. He's averaging 22 in the bubble. It's crazy.
Definitely in contention for most improved player of the bubble. I remember in like 2017-18 watching high school highlights of Michael Porter Jr. and they thought that like him and Bagley were going to be pick 1 and 2 and like this is supposed to be like one of the best draft classes ever. Then it just didn't pan out because of all the injuries.
I wonder if he can carry this performance over to next season.
Yeah,
It's not just the scoring though. He's been really efficient. He had like 50, 40, 90 splits.
exactly.
He's
Honestly,
averaging 6 assists too.
yeah, the defense in the bubble has been the main thing. Like everybody, the defense, since people are like tired, they're not used to like the new defensive schemes. People have been efficient in the bubble, shooting at a high efficiency, scoring like a lot. Like field goal percentage of almost every single team is up significantly. So this means that people are scoring more efficiently than ever, just having like all-time great performances.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think Terrence
Just like
Ross said
Damian.
that. Terrence
Yeah,
said
like
something
Lillard.
about the depth perception. Yeah.
Yeah, the depth perception, because smaller gyms, like if you think about it, if you're gonna have to play in a stadium, like a 20,000 person stadium, and have to deal with all these seats, the depth perception is all messed up. But it's so much easier to shoot in just like a real gym that they're used to playing in, like for practice, etc.
I also wonder if like fans are like in the backboard is clear, so like the fans sitting behind the backboard. Like, wonder if that distracts the players in like real games compared to now, where like they're not seeing like people, and they have like a clear vision of like the whole hoop.
They're definitely more focused.
Yeah. So another player I like to bring up is Derek White. He's always been like a good solid PG, but this in the bubble he's been putting up almost 20 points per game, 5 assists, 40% shooting from 3. He's been helpful for the Spurs in their run for the 8-9 spot.
Yeah.
For the play-in.
And also, no one's really talking about Harden. Harden is scoring at like a more efficient rate than he ever has, and he's been mostly consistent. If this can continue into the playoffs, the Rockets can be a real title contender.
I think it's just different because like Harden is like he's been doing good, but it's kind of expected from him at this point. So like some other players like T.J. Warren, MPJ, like these are like players that like, people don't expect to be doing this.
Mm-hmm. And then of course Damian Lillard, absolutely amazing. He just scored 60. He's playing extremely efficiently. The Blazers are beating really good teams, and they're vying for this 8th seed. See if he could pull through.
Yeah, there's like not much else to say. He's just been dominant in the bubble.
Yeah. You want to talk about TJ Warren?
Herman, do you have any other players you'd like to bring up?
Any other players? I think one person that's being overlooked is Brook Lopez. He's scoring the same amount of points as Chris Middleton right now in the Bucks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's 2 other players I'm not gonna like talk about in depth. I just want to mention them real quickly. Baisley of the Thunder. He's a rookie. He's been dropping 14 points per game, almost 50% shooting from 3 in 3 20-point games in a row. Also, Cam Johnson of the Suns. People had doubts about him, but he's been pretty good for them. I've been watching some Suns game. He definitely passes the eye test and he shoots pretty efficiently.
Yeah.
Like now that we mentioned these players, let's make our all bubble team like the top 5 players.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So, my all bubble team is I got Dame at the 1, Booker at the 2, TJ Warren at the 3. I'm cheating a little bit here, but I got Luka at the 4, even though he's not really a 4, but his performances like through all these games, he's just a superstar at this point, undoubtedly top 8 player in the NBA. And then I got Jokic at center, and honorable mention to 6-man James Harden. TJ Warren at the 3, obviously.
Well, I think the NBA said that they don't really care about position, so I kind of went small ball for the team. I have obviously Dame and D Book as like the 2 guards. Dame has been again just dominant, and we already talked about Booker. I have Harden on my all bubble team. You know, he's averaging 33, 8, and 9. He's actually averaging 3 steals per. He's averaging 3 steals per game, which isn't like a good indicator of defense, but it's still like somewhat impressive. And then I have Luka Doncic as one of my forwards, 32, 11, and 11. He had a 36, 14, and 19 game. It was just crazy. And then I just felt like TJ Warren had to make the team just because of his run, you know, as a breakout player. So I couldn't leave him off it.
I have the same team as Kyron, but I put instead of who'd you put at the 5?
Jokic.
Instead of Jokic, I put Porzingis in there.
Oh yeah, Porzingis has been performing really well.
31 and 10. 31 and 10.
Their game against the Blazers, he was really good, but then he just fouled out at the end.
Yeah.
But so, Kyron, you said you had D Book as the MVP of the bubble.
Yeah, for sure. Devin Booker. Honestly, the Suns are the hottest team. Devin Booker's the best player on the hottest team. It's got to go to him.
Okay, that makes sense.
What are y'all's MVPs of the bubble?
I wanted to put Giannis, but after that foul out and like the loss to the Rockets and stuff, I couldn't put him there anymore.
It's a conspiracy to keep the Suns out of the playoffs. NBA doesn't want him in.
Who knows?
They gotta, yeah.
I chose Dame Lillard instead of D Book as my MVP.
Mm-hmm. He's definitely like the alpha dog.
His run after the whole drama, he back-to-back 50-point games. I think he's the only player in Blazers history to do that.
Yeah, he did have the biggest choke of the bubble though by missing those 2 free throws. And actually, if you watch the game, the Clippers were tanking that game. They were resting Kawhi, and Paul George basically didn't play the last 18 minutes. The Clippers were trying to lose so that way they could send the Blazers at the 8th seed against the Lakers, like in hopes to knock them out. It was just kind of obvious they were trying to tank the game, but they still let it slip away from them with Lillard missing both those free throws. Honestly, inexcusable for the Blazers to lose that game.
Did y'all see that 3 he put up though? That like bounced off the rim really hard.
Yeah. That high
bounce.
I mean, I guess if you look at the entire bubble, maybe like D Book does deserve it more, but just the way Dame responded for the 2 games after that, I just kind of like feel like I have to give it to him. His averages went up significantly.
I can't see the Blazers without Dame.
Yeah, but I guess now it's time for the storyline of TJ Warren.
TJ Warren, yeah.
First 6 games, I'm going to give some stats. First 6 games, 35 points per game, 60, 55, 90 shooting. He did struggle like against the Heat, but he's still averaging above 30 points per game and still on 57, 50, 90 splits.
Yeah.
So
TJ Warren.
Crazy, man.
do you think he can sustain like some level of the success? Like Linsanity, I talked to Herman about this, but like Linsanity or Jeremy Lin like went on that run, but then he never like really got to that level at all. But obviously he's not going to put up 35 PPG on these efficiencies. But do you think like he can have some level, like maybe 22, 25 points per game?
Yeah, I think
the reason I think he can't transition to a superstar is number one, defenses are going to figure him out, and number two, at the beginning of the bubble, these teams didn't really know like the skill that he had, so they weren't sending their best defenders at him. But I think Paul George and Kawhi and Giannis, whoever they send at him, is just going to lock TJ Warren down. Honestly, like say the Suns advance the second round, hit the Clippers or something. There's no way that TJ Warren's like getting past either Kawhi or Paul George. They're gonna figure him out.
I think TJ Warren. I think if he really tries, he can be a consistent 20 point per game scorer because he's already averaging 18. So I don't see why not.
Yeah, I've sent this stat in the group chat. He's also scoring faster than all like the other stars in the bubble. He's scoring in less than 3 seconds. The other ones are taking their time. Especially Dame and Doncic, their ISOs for like 10 seconds of the clock. But he's been, scoring really quickly.
Yeah, he has the potential to be efficient. Yeah.
What would you consider the Pacers season success? Like, I feel like if they make it to the second round and keep it competitive, then their season is like a success.
Oh, for sure. And the Pacers are hot right now. Just beat the Rockets. They're honestly like a really solid team.
Yeah, I
especially
had Bucks, Raptors, Celtics, Sixers, and Heat as like the teams better than them, but the Sixers with the Simmons injury and Embiid, they may fall behind. Fall behind. But if they can like beat the Heat and then like have a competitive series with the Bucks, they shouldn't be sad about their performance at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Suns should be sad they traded him. But speaking of the Suns, they've started 7-0, right?
7-0, yeah.
7-0. Booker's averaging over 30 points per game. They beat the Clippers, although tanking, and they also beat the Mavs, Heat, Pacers, and Thunder. But the Thunder had like Adams sitting out, Shea sitting out, and Schroeder sitting out, I think.
Yeah, the Suns are obviously a little fluky, and there's also a low chance that they're actually going to get this 8th seed. But it's obviously a possibility. They're tied for the 9th seed right now. But really, the important thing is nobody saw it coming. A complete dark horse.
Yeah. No one. Yeah.
Yeah, I would not have predicted it.
Yeah, like so I want to talk about like the other teams. Like when they first announced the bubble, I didn't see the Suns like having a chance at all. The Suns and the Kings, I thought they would both like be out and meet like they were the bottom feeders of the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
But like I thought the Grizzlies could have a chance, but then when Jaren Jackson Jr., like when he got injured, like I couldn't see them making it. And then I was like, is this finally the year to bet against Popovich? His 23-year run to the playoffs.
Yeah.
It might be. It's like very slim chance they make it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Pelicans just couldn't get it together.
No.
Yeah,
terrible.
That first game, I think, was the opener of the bubble when they sat Zion. Absolutely no coaching strategy whatsoever. Like, why would you sit your best player when it's like a tie game with a couple seconds left? I don't think they were trying to get the playoff seed.
Yeah. Alvin Gentry should be fired if they're trying to make the playoffs.
Exactly.
It's terrible. Did y'all know Zion did not have a single steal or block in the bubble?
Really? Oh my gosh.
That's actually kind of sad. He was really out of shape in this bubble.
I mean, that's surprising because like Zion's such an athletic player. I would expect
what else did he have to do during quarantine? Like just have like a few hours workout and then like he could just chill the rest of the day. Like he could have just set aside like 2-3 hours to just dedicate himself to like physical activity.
Yeah.
I like looking at him. He looks very frustrated with the coach and everything.
But Lonzo hasn't helped the Pelicans either. His shooting is bad.
He's shooting like 20%.
JJ Redick was trying his best in that final game against the Spurs. He had like 30
his streak in it too.
Yeah.
Who do y'all think is going to get the 8th seed?
I have the Blazers. I think the Blazers are going to get the
Blazers. Me too.
I think they're the best team out of the Grizzlies, Suns, Spurs. Honestly, the Blazers, I think that they're the only one with even a puncher's chance at eliminating the Lakers. And
Wait, for the play-in, do you have the Suns or the Grizzlies? Remember, the Grizzlies only have to win this game, and Giannis is out. If the Grizzlies
I
win
think
this
that
game, it doesn't matter if the Suns win or lose.
I think it is definitely more probable that the Grizzlies do get into the play-in, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the Grizzlies just lost. I think that the Bucks, without Giannis, this is their time to prove themselves. They're obviously not going to be super motivated to win, but I just think that it's really important for the Bucks without Giannis to show that they're not like complete trash without him. Could be a motivating factor.
Yeah, and they have Chris Middleton too. Don't forget.
Mini
Yeah.
storyline for this game: Chris Middleton, his 50, 40, 90 season, he's just below 50, so
Yeah,
he could be trying to go for it.
He's a few
Oh,
shots
yeah.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's just,
but I don't know. I think the Bucks without Giannis is still better than the Grizzlies without Jaren Jackson Jr.
exactly.
Because that's so much talent. Is Bledsoe back? I don't think he's back.
Yeah, I'd say Blazers and Suns, but I'd say the Blazers would just win just because of their experience.
For sure.
Yeah,
They're also
Dame.
just better than the Suns matchup wise.
Yeah, but like if you look at their experience, Dame has hit like 2 series clinching game-winning shots.
Yeah.
CJ's made the playoffs every year of his career. Melo's been known as a clutch player. Like, he hasn't had playoff success, but he's still like one of the most clutch players in the NBA. And like the Suns, they're really young. Book obviously has faced double teams in like game-winning situations, but like I don't know if he's ever had like the whole NBA community watching him. And even if he does well,
Exactly.
Ayton is only a second-year player. Mikal Bridges is only a second-year player. And Cam Payne is in their rotation. I don't know if you guys know this, but they've been playing Cameron Payne like significant minutes, which isn't a good thing to me.
I don't see the Suns beating the Blazers back to back under any circumstance, honestly.
Yeah, even if the Suns do win the first game, there's no way Dame's gonna let the Blazers lose another one.
Yeah.
It would be insane to see that happen. Though.
It'd be
Mhm.
crazy.
Trailblazers twice. Yeah.
But Dame is the clutchest player in the league right now.
Yeah. Speaking of Damian Lillard,
That roster is insane.
you know what happened with that beef, right?
Paul George.
Dame versus Paul George and Patrick Beverley. What do you think of that?
Well, before we start this, I'd like to say that Chris Haynes reported that they settled it off court, but it's still like interesting on court. It's still interesting like on court drama.
Yes.
Yeah, they reached out to each other and because they were getting the family members involved, I think.
Yeah.
They were talking about
Yeah.
Just for some context to the viewers, if they haven't seen it yet, Dame missed 2 free throws in a row, and then he missed a 3 right like after that.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what do you guys think? I feel like P-Bev, he did his job. His job is to be on the court to irritate, the other team's best players.
Honestly, I think
That's
that
basically what he's paid for.
Patrick Beverley, extremely overrated. However, his job is honestly to irritate. He talks a lot of trash for somebody who has no offensive game. And his defense is also pretty overrated as well. There's much better on-ball defenders than Patrick Beverley. But he's definitely doing his job. He's getting in his head. He shouted dollar time at Damian Lillard when he was trying to score those free throws, and he obviously missed. So honestly, as an irritator, he's doing his job. Paul George, who Damian Lillard really owns his soul, is kind of getting insecure, trying to like take jabs at Damian Lillard. But let's not forget what happened last year.
But Paul George is like, he just seemed pissed off during the game. There was a clip of Gary Trent Jr. locking up PG, and as soon as like he stole the ball, PG just wouldn't stop talking. Like Gary Trent Jr. wasn't even talking back to him; he just kept yapping. I didn't understand what that was about. I just feel like PG-13 is just mad about something. Could be the shot that they made.
Think about his career, okay? He played for the Pacers, went toe-to-toe with LeBron, and is still owned by LeBron. Okay, they lost. Then he goes to the Thunder and has no success. Damian Lillard ends his season. And then he's going to the Clippers and he's playing second fiddle once again to Kawhi. He obviously wants to be the alpha, but he's not succeeded at every single point in his career. So he has a little fire in him that I think could affect his playoff performance.
We should also mention that Joe Ingles locked him up in that Jazz series. Game 6.
Hey, don't sleep on Joe Ingles. His defense is actually really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, Paul George shouldn't be having Joe Ingles in his head. I think player-wise,
Joe Ingles is one of those pests too, like Patrick Beverley. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have Dame win player-wise. I think Dame wins because he has that shot over PG, and he responded well with those back-to-back 50-point games. But team-wise, the Clippers do win because they're playing for the championship. Dame is playing for a competitive.
But let's also say that Paul George hasn't gotten out of the first round since 2014, and Dame's been in the Western Conference Finals.
First round.
Dame's had the success. He's honestly just at a different level than Paul George in terms of like who's the alpha. Paul George needs to prove something before he talks trash.
Definitely.
Well, Lakers or
So,
Clippers? That's the big question of the
Who
season.
do you have?
Lakers or Clippers?
I think they both have a lot of flaws. The Lakers have been performing kind of bad during this bubble. LeBron's not been playing well, but I think they could get into a groove. And the Clippers obviously have had a pretty successful bubble, but they've dropped a couple of games that they don't really need to win them. So matchup wise, who do y'all have?
I think the X factor between the two matchups is LeBron and Kawhi.
Yeah. Just going toe to toe, honestly, I think LeBron is the most clutch playoff player in the NBA right now. He's can prove it time and time again. He comes up in almost every situation since 2011. And AD, honestly, can't count him out. The Clippers can't stop him. I got the Lakers matchup wise. I think that LeBron can pull through and win a 7-game series. But it'll go 7 games. It'll be tough.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'd like to start off by saying that PG and Kawhi are really talented wings. They can like defend, score. It can do pretty much anything. But LeBron at his best, I just don't think he can be stopped. The Clippers have good defenders to try and throw at him. They have like Marcus Morris, PG-13 Kawhi, but if LeBron wants to get into the paint, he's gonna get into the paint. AD, I feel like he's too big. Like he's been having like mediocre performances, but I think he in clutch situations he's too big, and he's developed some ability to hit the three. And I think if the Clips want to guard AD, they should do what like the Raptors did last year against Giannis, where they kind of like just built a wall around like in the paint. But I don't know if the Clippers have like the personnel to do that. For the Lakers, I think as long as the Lakers shooters show up for at least 4 out of the 7 games, and they get a stop, like they hit a three, get a stop, I think they should be fine.
Yeah, I think that depth-wise, the Clippers obviously have a little bit of an edge, but I think that honestly, AD, LeBron, and Kawhi are at the same level, and Paul George is just a step behind. I think that at their best, it could be Kawhi, then LeBron, then AD. But I also think that at their best, it could also be LeBron, AD, then Kawhi, and Paul George. I think that just 2 for 2, I think that there's not really a situation in which the Lakers' best 2 lose to the Clippers' best 2.
I can see PG going off in it.
Yeah, the Clippers have talent that he could, yeah. But like the Clippers, they have like guaranteed 40 points per game off the bench from Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell. Marcus Morris can hit the three, he can play defense. Shamit, let's not forget about his shooting. And I like Reggie Jackson as a point guard. Like he wasn't getting attention in Detroit because they had like bad seasons, but I think he's overall pretty good. But I want to focus on the Lakers shooters for a bit. Like I think who would you say their best 2 shooters would be? Like their X factors.
Shooters.
Maybe like Danny Green and who do they have like as the backup 2 or like combo guard? Quinn Cook.
They have Waiters, Cook, and J.R. Smith.
Waiters and JR, definitely the X factors. The 2 biggest heat check guys like in NBA history. Honestly, extremely inconsistent, but they can go off at any moment. And you've seen that this season. You've seen that previous seasons. They could turn into LeBron, and they could also turn into being complete trash. Huge X factors.
Yeah. Danny Green is like pretty inconsistent, but I like to mention in the 2013 finals, he had like the best 3-point like showing in finals history until Curry showed up. He had like the record for most threes in the finals.
That's Spurs really series, right?
Yeah. When he was on the Spurs.
Yeah. Also, like J.R. Smith, he has that game 1 2018 like finals thing just stuck to him forever. Look at like his individual performances in the finals since I like watched him for like 4 out of the 5 years. So there's 3 games I like really want to. So in 2015, Game 6, the Warriors were up 3-2 against the Cavs.
Yeah.
He did show up. He dropped 19 points and he hit 4 threes in the last 2 minutes. He hit 3 in a row in the last 2 minutes to try and bring the Cavs back to force a Game 7.
Yeah.
Team Game 7, like coming back down 3-1. It was tied 3-3. And like every single game in that series was a blowout pretty much. And then at halftime, time the Warriors are pulling Smith, he came out, hit a 2-pointer, a mid-range, and then knocked down 2 threes in a row. And that was just an 8-point run for what, helped them gain momentum again. And then they did end up winning. And then 2017, Game 5, again, the Warriors were up 3-1. And he came out and took 8 threes and made 7 of them. So he does have, like, his moments which are, like, kind of questionable, but he does sometimes show up.
Yeah, I feel like he definitely gets way too much hate. Because when I watched that clip, like obviously he wasn't doing good. He wasn't doing the right thing, but his moments where he does.
Also, little known secret, I thought the Cavs were ahead too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I get in my head, like I had George Hill, like I just assumed he'd make both free throws, so I just added it to the score before like he missed it. So I was like, why aren't the Warriors fouling J.R. Smith? And I was like, shoot, the Cavs just won.
Yeah, people forget that might be, along with LeBron in the 2007 Eastern Conference Finals and LeBron in the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals, that Game 1 2018 Finals is probably one of his best games of all time. I think he had 51, and he was really just beating the Warriors by himself until JR choked.
Yeah, 51 points in the game.
Mm-hmm. So, who do you have as the third best team in the West?
I want Yishu to talk first because Herman's like a Rockets fan, and so I'd like Herman to go first.
So Rockets, Thunder, Nuggets. Man, let's be real. It's the Rockets, man. Let's be real. Come on now.
I agree. I'm not even a Rockets fan. I think Harden's red hot. They're gonna get Westbrook back. They got Eric Gordon back. The Rockets can go toe to toe with any team. They're unbeatable if Harden's hot. They're super efficient. Small ball is only an issue if they play the Lakers or maybe the Blazers. They're going to beat the Thunder. They're going to lock down Chris Paul. Second round, I think that they can even be a title contender because the Lakers and Clippers are looking weak. I think that the Rockets are not only the third best team in the West, but they're the fourth best team in the NBA.
Yes. Thank you, Kyron. Finally.
Yeah. I'm going to start off by saying, so we wrote down Rockets, Nuggets, or Thunder. I don't think the Thunder should be in the conversation. Out of their top 5, CP, Shea, Schroeder, Gallinari, and Adams, I don't think anyone competes.
They're matchup-wise, the Thunder are weak, but they've been performing just at all cylinders, extremely efficient, winning games.
I'm going to say that
CP3 effect.
I'm going to say at their peak, the Rockets are better. They have Harden, Westbrook, Gordon. They're talented. PJ Tucker, his solid defense and corner shooting. Roko's a streaky shooter, but he has just amazing defense. And their bench is pretty good too. Austin Rivers, Jeff Green's ability to score, Ben McLemore, Daniel House Jr. And then they have defenders off the bench, Damari Carroll, Lekba Mute. But just looking at the Rockets playoff history, I just don't know if I can trust them to have the ability to.
But see, this is why I was looking at to see if Harden would perform in the bubble, because they're obviously very important games, and he's done it. He's been efficient in the majority of the games, and I think that this is the year he can pull through. I've been saying that every year, but I think that there's definitely a possibility this year. And also the rest of the West, besides the Blazers and the Suns, they've all underperformed. They've all been worse in the bubble than you expect them to be during the regular season.
I think to be honest, looking at the Rockets' history, I'm just going to give it to the Nuggets for now. If the Rockets do show up, they probably will be better than the Nuggets, but just my prediction, because the Nuggets have so many offensive players. Jokic, he can control the game whenever he wants, even without scoring.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Will Barton, and now Michael Porter Jr., they can contribute offensively. Millsap can contribute defensively. And off the bench, they have Troy Daniels, who's a shooter. He hasn't been that good this season, but I can trust him. I think I should trust him because he has shown the ability to hit threes. And Torrey Craig isn't super efficient, but he's also been part of their bench.
But the issue is, in past years, the Nuggets have also underperformed and choked. They haven't really had playoff success when they're keeping basically the same roster.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I just think the Rockets just have that stigma,
Yeah, but I think that
Yeah. Go ahead.
I also think that the one issue is that Jokic is definitely a really good matchup against the Rockets. If they were to go like head to head, I think that the Nuggets can actually beat the Rockets because it's a really bad matchup for them. It's just honestly really bad. A 7-footer like dynamic scorer against the tallest player, 6'7" PJ Tucker. It's a big issue.
Yeah.
I think in that Rockets and Nuggets series, like without any bias, if Harden can establish his presence, that would be the reason why Rockets win. That would be
Yeah.
Well, Rockets and Thunder are locked in for the first round, so it'll be Harden versus CP, and Russell Westbrook versus his old team.
Yeah, I think that in that matchup, the Thunder are actually again a bad matchup for the Rockets because obviously Steven Adams is just huge and like really great. Is he still injured? Steven Adams? Alan?
He did miss like the past few games, so I don't think you should expect him to.
Yeah, if they could get Steven Adams back, I think it's a bad matchup for the Rockets. So I think that the Rockets could pull through, but it would be in 6 or 7.
I think the Thunder are putting Mike Muscala as their center for now.
Yeah, so then I think they got it.
Mike Muscala can shoot.
Yeah, but so can all the Rockets.
That's true. You're not putting on a Rockets jersey unless you can shoot the three.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen Tyson Chandler. Yeah, a single minute.
Yeah. So what do y'all think of the Heat?
Yeah, the Heat are like I think they have potential.
Honestly, just looking at the whole East here, obviously you have the 1 seed Bucks who are just performing amazing. When Giannis is playing well, they're playing well. Undoubtedly the best team in the East. And then you look below them, and I think the Heat could be the second best team in the Heat. The Heat could be the second best team in the East. I'm a Celtics fan. Honestly, the Celtics have underperformed in the bubble. I think that the Heat are a better team than the Celtics, and the Heat are just performing well. Honestly, like every year, the Heat kind of makes an unexpected run. You don't expect them to be good since like the Big Three, but they just have the great coach in Spoelstra and really good infrastructure there.
But even though like Kawhi and Danny Green left, the Raptors' defense is still like suffocating.
Exactly. The Raptors are the only team I think that is better than the Heat. Obviously, Big Four, like I think the East playoff matchups are set, right?
I know the Bucks, Raptors are set, and I think the Heat and Pacers are set. So yeah, I guess they're all set. Yeah.
So honestly, I think we can all just pencil in Heat, Celtics, Raptors, Bucks winning their first round matchups. After that, I don't know, but I think that those 4 are undoubtedly better than the next 4.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna count out the Pacers completely yet.
Who are the Pacers hitting?
The Pacers and the Heat are playing the first round.
Yeah, I think that the Heat are just a better team.
TJ Warren can still, put up those numbers.
And Victor Oladipo.
Yes.
Yeah, but you got Jimmy. Yeah, you got like the excellent team in the Heat with Jimmy Butler, Bam, Olynyk, everybody going against the Pacers with their repeatedly injured guy and 3 TJs. So I honestly don't think that the Pacers can pull through.
Yeah, I mean, that's Sabonis. Sabonis
is out, which is bad for them.
Yeah.
Sabonis is out.
I like the way the Heat are constructed. They have like wings like Jimmy Buckets, AE, and Jay Crowder. They can all come in and defend.
And also the players in the Heat are experienced. They got playoff like resumes, and I think that they're just going to be more clutch than the Pacers.
Is Goran Dragic starting in the bubble? I know he started off the season off the bench, but I don't know if he's starting now.
I think he's starting. I'm not sure though.
I really like him. Like I think he's kind of underrated. Like he's not as good as the top, but he's still like really.
He's a good like second
he's like he's like 15th best point guard in the NBA, 20th, 30th. I don't know.
Bam is an all-star, which I actually forgot.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, and
he's great.
Derek Jones Jr. isn't like what? Derek Jones Jr. isn't like as talented, but I think if they need momentum, just bring him in, a highlight play here and there, it could swing the momentum possibly.
Yeah.
And they have shooters like Kendrick Nunn and Harrell as their rookies. Duncan Robinson, Kelly Olynyk.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy.
They're just like
Yeah.
They function. The sum of their parts is better. The whole is better than the sum of their parts. Like actual lineup wise, they obviously don't have like a super duper star. Their best player is Jimmy Buckets, who's been inconsistent and inefficient at times, but they just work really well as a team, almost reminiscent of like a Spurs team.
We can't forget
They
their
have a lot
Vice
of depth.
jersey.
Yeah, best jersey in the NBA.
If they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, then this season's a success for them.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, if they make it to the second round, this season is a success. Nobody really had them penciled in as like being one of the better teams in the East.
Yeah. Herman, do you have any like final thoughts on the Heat?
On the Heat, no man, it's a whole bunch of young players. You know, got a lot of potential. Got Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo.
Well, I guess we can just get into the awards now. So I'm just gonna like rattle off the finalists, and then you guys can like make your case for whoever you choose, and then I'll go after you guys. So first is Coach of the Year. We have Mike Budenholzer of the Bucks, Nick Nurse of the Raptors, and Billy Donovan of the Thunder.
Yeah.
Nick
So
Nurse.
who would you?
Nick Nurse.
So I would say Nick Nurse if the 8 bubble games actually counted in the regular season awards. However, like they told the voters to not count them. I think it honestly has to be Mike Budenholzer. The Bucks are historically great offensive, defensive rating, net rating. They're just a really well-oiled team and undoubtedly just the best team, regular season team in the NBA. I think it's got to go to him because they overperformed expectations.
Standings wise,
I do see the.
It's like those two would be if it was like you just look at their performances. But I decided to go with Billy Donovan. If you look at the storyline, the Thunder,
Yeah,
I looked it up. They had a point. They were like 0.2% chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. They really overperformed.
CP3 is like probably like the main leader, but I still like to give it to Billy Donovan.
Yeah, I think CP3 was just like the leader of that team, though. Like, I think Nick Nurse is like the leader of the Raptors, but I think CP3 plays like a coach role with the Thunder, kind of like how like LeBron plays coach.
Yeah, I just feel like he's
a great leader. Yeah,
he's been trashed on his whole career.
Yeah.
So most improved player.
Most improved player.
Luka Doncic,
finalist.
Brandon Ingram, Bam Adebayo.
I think it's got to be Bam Adebayo. Honestly, Bam Adebayo went from kind of a no name, like outside of the box, like player, just kind of like this tall guy who was kind of efficient, good at defense. And now he's established himself as an all-star. And one of the second best reason why Heat are performing so well. I think I would give it to Luka, but Luka did perform really well in his rookie season. So in terms of like most improved, I don't really think that Luka is at superstar status yet until at least like the bubble happened. So I think you got to give it to Bam. Who do y'all have?
I'm gonna give it to Brandon Ingram.
Oh, interesting. Why?
I mean, if you look at the numbers, I was looking at the numbers last night. Brandon Ingram and Bam Adebayo, right? Now their stats improve around the same, but when you look at the minutes, I feel like Brandon Ingram, like he's been playing the same minutes his entire career.
Yeah, he did more with less.
Yeah, he did more with less, and like Bam. I feel like he was already playing that good, but he was like playing with around I think like 22 minutes per game last season. So I feel like who improved more in general would be Brandon Ingram.
I'm just gonna start off by saying I don't like giving MIP to sophomores because like rookies are expected to improve in their second season. Not saying Luka didn't improve, but I just don't like the idea of giving it to them.
I agree with that take.
Ingram, he did improve, but like part of MIP for me is like shock factor. And Ingram, he was already known as a great scorer, and he became, I think, he's like the first option now, I guess, since Zion was out the whole season. Whereas Bam, he went from a 9-7-2 player to a 16-10-5 player, cemented himself as a full-time starter, and became an all-star.
Yeah. What's the next award?
Sixth Man of the Year. 2 players from the Clippers, Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell, and then Schroeder of the Thunder.
I'd say give it to Lou Will again. Consistently the best 6-man scorer in the NBA. Performing well as always, even if this isn't one of his like most iconic seasons of all time. I think that definitely the other contender is Schroeder for the Thunder, but I just think that Lou Will is more important to the Clippers than Schroeder's to the Thunder.
I can see that.
You know, to me, there's like no bad choice. All three are like deserving of sixth man of the year. But I'd give it to Shooter just because like Montrezl Harrell and Lou Will, like they have each other to play off of. Like the bench's defense can't just focus only on Lou Will because then you have Montrezl Harrell in the paint. Whereas like Shooter,
Yeah.
he's like their player off the bench. There's not many players to, surround him around, and he's been getting it done. So like,
But I do.
give credit on three, but I give it to Shooter.
The reason I do think it should go to a Clippers player is that they should be rewarded for having like the best bench in the NBA, best sixth and seventh men. It's like I think that they should get some recognition for just having that best bench.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Shooter too. I mean, averaging 18 off that bench. He doesn't have too many resources to,
Yeah.
He's just
Okay,
making the
next
most
is-
out of what he has.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
been good.
Next award.
Next is Depoy, so it's between Gobert, AD, and Giannis. So I'm gonna start off with saying I don't think Gobert's in it at all because he
Yeah,
couldn't
same.
defend the NBA from COVID, so he can't defend.
Yeah.
The NBA.
Exactly. Most unpopular player. All his teammates hate him, by the way, too. Like I was reading a couple of stories about how
Yeah.
he's really just unpopular with his teammates. So I think he's kind of out of it.
I heard Donovan Mitchell said that I heard that Donovan Mitchell was a germaphobe, so. That's
Oh
kinda-
yeah.
Yeah.
So who do you
Okay,
have?
so AD and Giannis. I would have to go with Giannis, honestly. I just think that watching the tape, even if AD has like similar stats, I think that Giannis can just lock down really good guys, clog the paint, lock down like big guys while also not being too bad on ball versus like ball handlers. I think that Giannis deserves Defensive Player of the Year. And even if he doesn't get MVP, he's locked for Defensive Player of the Year. He's kind of similar to Giannis in terms of like the defense to AD in terms of the defense that he plays. But I think that the Bucks also had a better defensive rating with him like anchoring the defense than the Lakers did.
I'm gonna agree with Kyron there because like Giannis's athleticism just makes him so much better. And like
Exactly, yeah.
a good stat I found yesterday was that AD is dead last on fast break defense.
Yeah. Does not deserve it.
Wow,
So Giannis has a step over.
I kind of chose to give the edge to AD because of his ability to like protect the rim better. I think it's really close between Giannis and AD. Giannis has a length and athleticism, like he can guard almost anyone he wants. But like the really big men, I think he's still struggle against because like he's like not as big. Whereas AD
Or experienced.
Yeah, AD can like guard those big men. Like put Embiid, AD can stop him. I don't know if Giannis can because of the size of Embiid.
Yeah. I can see that pick. Two good picks.
Yeah, I can't complain with either.
Yeah. Finally for MVP.
No, we still have Rookie of the Year and then MVP.
Oh yeah.
The Rookie of the Year is between John Morant, Zion, and Kendrick Nunn.
Yeah.
Come
So I'm gonna have to go the Kendrick Nunn. Nah,
Kendrick
but
Nunn.
for real, cannot go for anybody other than John Morant. John Morant is miles better than Kendrick Nunn. Just like it's really a two-man race, and Zion played like 20 or 30 games. I do not see how Zion should deserve that. It's kind of like when I think Joel Embiid won while not playing that many games, but I just really think that
Yeah.
Zion doesn't deserve it. He was injured basically the whole season, and Ja just had a really great season.
Yeah, I don't see anyone winning it besides Ja because he has every reason to win it, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think that's like the biggest lock.
I'd give it to Ja also. I think the best ability is availability. Zion only played 30 games. He's really talented. I have to give it to Zion. He's really talented, but only 30 games. That's just not enough for me to say he's a Rookie of the Year. So the final award is MVP, Giannis, LeBron, and Harden. It's kind of funny that LeBron and Harden have been like the conversation like every year since like 2015.
Exactly, yeah. Like LeBron, even earlier Harden, they're just perennial
Harden,
candidates. And if we're being honest here, LeBron probably deserves like 10 MVPs. He's just been like the best player in the NBA for so long. Obviously, like Kawhi or KD and Curry, people argue that at certain years he was better than. But if you just look at like the decade, LeBron is undoubtedly the best player of the 2010s and probably 2020. But I think that this race is actually pretty interesting because LeBron sort of reinvented himself as less of a scorer and a slasher and more of a facilitator.
Playmaker, yeah.
Yeah. So it's obviously a really unique race.
So who's
your pick? I'll let you pick first.
I don't know how to choose, man. Harden, man. I don't want to be biased here, but
I don't think it goes to Harden under any circumstances. He didn't really play that great this season. I think that Harden deserved it last year over Giannis. I don't think he deserves it this year.
I'm hoping for
I feel like
Harden,
voter
but I know
fatigue-
it's not going to go to him.
Yeah, Harden. I don't know. I feel like LeBron's not going to win just because of voter fatigue. They don't want to give it to LeBron.
Nah, I think it's actually the opposite there because they don't have voter fatigue. He hasn't won recently.
Well,
Like, he doesn't
think
really
it's just
get
that stigma. Like LeBron actually hasn't won since like when was it?
2014 or
2013.
13,
No,
yeah.
14 was KD. But like every year since then, they've always said they want to give it to LeBron, even though he actually hasn't won in those few years. What was you?
I was gonna say I also think that this is LeBron's actual best season since 2013. Like he hasn't really had like a groundbreaking like reinvention of himself or just like a super beast and efficient season. I think that this is definitely his best season, and he's 35 years old, and it's his best season in like 5 years, 7 years.
If they took the bubble into account, there's no way LeBron's even in the conversation because like.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think that the reason that he is into account is like the last few games of the regular season, he was performing much better than Giannis.
I don't know. I just always had the race between Giannis and Harden scoring and playmaking is better than Giannis, but Giannis can do those two, while his defense and rebounding is a bigger gap than Harden's scoring and playmaking.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I'd have to give it to Giannis. Just he's the best player on the best team regular season. This is his best season yet. He's very efficient. He does more on the floor. He play makes. He is a great defender, defensive player of the year. He's scoring 30 a game. He's efficient. He's huge. He's the most dynamic player, hardest player to guard in the NBA. I think that this season it just has to go to him.
So we all have Giannis, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is a good place to wrap up the pod.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you guys for tuning into the first episode of our podcast. Please leave feedback and comments down below. We'll read all of them. We are expanding to many more platforms, so be on the lookout for ones that are more convenient for you. Thank you so much again. Yeah. And do you guys have any final words?
Honestly, just really excited. The pod will get better over time. Think this was a great first podcast, and we're excited to give you our playoff predictions next podcast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the second episode will be better. It'll be more interesting with the playing game done and the official brackets.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I guess we're done.
Okay, sounds good.
Peace.
All right.